The moment of truth, it awaits the drivers here in the Euro Cup 3 grade of the Spanish Winter Championships 2026. Motorland Aragon is the venue that crescendos our climax to the title fight, and it really is going to be a very difficult battle to call, as we now have a very solid race battle for the competitors for the title. Keanu Alizari, James Igozzi, and still technically on paper, Alex Powell and René Lammers. Although in reality, all Keanu Alizari needs to win this title is an 8th place finish in this first race of the weekend, after securing pole position in fantastic fashion in the morning qualifying session and the 2 bonus points for the title that went with it. He now leads the standings by 35 points. If he scores an 8th place finish, he will be a full 39 points clear in the title fight, and that will seal the deal, provided that his main opponents, James Igozzi, Alex Powell and René Lammers, do not score points in the first race, of course. It's going to be an interesting first race battle, but for Keanu Alizari, he is in prime position to get the job done. He starts from pole position. If he wins race 1, the title is already over. He couldn't have started his title campaign in the best way possible. It really has been a fantastic kickoff to his title aspirations. Jake Sanson here in the commentary box once again, here from Motorland Aragon. It's going to be a very interesting one. Very cold conditions here in the beautiful heartland of Spain. After the 2 opening weekends that we had in Portimao in Portugal and Jarama in the capital city of Madrid, very difficult possibilities await the drivers who are trying to take off the title from Keanu Alizari. For Messrs James Igozzi, Alex Powell and René Lammers, nothing less than a win will do now if you want to go for the Spanish Winter Championship. But for Keanu Alizari, the man from Dubai, he's got himself a great chance to seal the deal. Just staying in the points is all he really needs to do in these first couple of races to get it done. So let's go back and figure out what happened at Jarama with our man on the scene, Alex Garcia.
We are standing here in one of the most important places for this weekend's Spanish Winter Championship. This is, of course, the approach to the last apex that the future champion will see before he is the new champion of the Spanish Winter Championship here in Euro Cup 3. Of course, the action is about to start in the bigger of the 2 classes, and we are ready for what is sure to be a fantastic weekend. Of course, now it's Friday, it's sunny, the weather is very nice. The forecast for Saturday is a little bit naughtier, which could mean that we may have rain for Saturday. Sunday should be safer. We are, of course, on the last round of the Spanish Winter Championship, and we come after a very interesting weekend in Jarama, where we saw 3 different winners. Keanu Alizari, who won, of course, the first race of the weekend with a fantastic overtake over Marco Pradel. We had, of course, the first win for Stefan Bostanjev, and we had that win at the end of the day for James Igozzi. And I say the end of the day because he found out he was the winner and he was already in the airport. Talk about good news at the airport. Of course, Jarama gave us good action, but I suspect this weekend here in Motorland we're going to have a little bit more action. The track is a bit wider, bigger, more suited for these cars. Fantastic cars, by the way, the new Dallara 326, which has been extremely fun for drivers and spectators alike, and we have that fight for the championship. Yes, Keanu Alizari is the big favorite. He has a great point advantage, but he can't really relax because he has a few drivers that could try to ruin his party. James Igozzi is probably the biggest candidate that could give that alternative to Keanu Alizari's nomination, but that also means that we have a few teams vying for that title as well, because remember, we have a fight for the Drivers' Championship and a fight for the Teams' Championship. Also, remember, this is the last round for the Spanish Winter Championship. We will have our regular season starting this spring. But remember, drivers always want to win. And this weekend is important to make it happen, to get those good results, to finish that Spanish Winter Championship with the best feeling before the real fun starts for the rest of the year. So, if you're ready, I suggest sit comfortably, sit tight, and enjoy the show.
It definitely is going to be a good show, and based on what we've seen for the first 2 weekends in Portugal and at Jarama, I have a feeling you're only going to need the edge of it. Keanu Alizari going from pole position, and he's got a big opportunity to win the title in the first race of the weekend. But here, Alex Garcia, we don't want that. We want it to go all the way to the final race of the season if we can. So for James Igotzi, René Lammers and Alex Powell, it's game on. They've got to make this race count.
Ideally, yes, isn't it? We would like to see things decided as late as possible. If it's more exciting, then it's more entertaining, and motorsport is entertaining as well. It's always good fun, especially when the conditions are tricky, and we know that Motorland is definitely tricky. It always is. It is always windy. It's always difficult. This weekend, of course, it's not yet spring. This is why it's called the Spanish Winter Championship. More than ever today. And after what we've seen this morning, wet qualifying, do not forget, that means this is the first time of the day that they are running on a dry track. Of course, it's cold, it's windy, it's difficult. It's completely different from what we saw yesterday. It's completely different from what we saw this morning. So if Keanu Alazari wants to do it, he will have to face a new challenge. As for his rivals, they have a new opportunity to maybe surprise the main dominating force of the previous 2 rounds so far. So plenty of ingredients for a good meal. I think we're going to stuff our faces a little bit.
Certainly will. James Igotzi has got to make a third position, starting position, go forward from there. He has got to improve on third place, especially when his main opponent, Keanu Alazari, is 2 places ahead. As it stands at the moment, Alazari is set to score 10 more points than Igotzi, and that puts the title out of reach. It's even worse for René Lammers starting down in P7 and for Alex Powell starting down in P13. Now those two are pretty much on the outskirts for the title anyway, but they'll still want to end the Spanish Winter Championship on a high note. Track temperature is 21 degrees Celsius at the moment, but the air temperature has not even got to 10 degrees Celsius. This is the first time we'll get to see these Dallara 326 cars in such cold conditions. But based on what we've seen in the first 2 weekends, Alex, I don't really think we're going to see anything other than what we've already seen. Non-stop, no nonsense, pure racing.
Pretty much. I think this is a car that works well in every conditions, and I don't want to say that it would run well on snow, but it would probably run well on snow as well. We've seen the car being very fun to watch, even in a track such as Jarama, and we know it was amazing in Portimao. This is more like Portimao than Jarama, so we have probably the best scenario, the best stage for the end of the Spanish Winter Championship. As you can see, the first 326 is already going out on the pit lane, getting ready to take on the track. And yes, it's a bit colder than I would have liked. I thought that the sun would grace us with its presence and get a little bit warmer from the E4 race until now. I've tried to go on a lighter jacket strategy, but it didn't seem to be the right one. So we're keeping the same strategy we used this morning, which worked well, and that's what we're going for.
But with a thicker coat comes more downforce, Alex. So it will definitely benefit you over the course of the weekend. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Jarama, because one thing we didn't really get the chance to emphasise with the Euro Cup 3 cars in particular is just how strong the racing, the actual wheel-to-wheel battles were at Jarama in the Dallara 326. A real test of a race car when it's in its infancy is to take it onto a circuit where you don't really expect an amazing amount of wheel-to-wheel and see how it performs. Jarama is very tight, very twisty, not the easiest of circuit to go wheel-to-wheel on. But if you remember back to 2 weeks ago, we had some unbelievable battles. Look back to that fantastic duel between Keanu Alazari and Gianmarco Pradel. That kind of racing could only really have been possible with the right kind of engineering of that car, and it's clear that what everybody at Engine 101, Toms, Cosworth, all of the guys at Hankook, they've put in a fantastic effort to make this car a real gutsy racer, and it is a proper attest to everything that the guys at Dallara and everybody working behind the scenes have done to make this a real race car. We were not expecting massive stuff at Jarama in the terms of wheel-to-wheel, but we still got it. That's how magic this new car is.
100%, Jake, because some people might think, no, you have to take them to a big track and see just how interesting it can be. Well, no, even cars where it's difficult to follow a rival are good on those tracks. You need to take it to a difficult one, to one where you don't overtake. One of those tracks like Jarama, as you said, where you just take the weekend, you look at the track, you look at the map, you look at the size of of the track and you say, no, this is not going to happen, is it? And then it happens. And not only it happens, but it happens repeatedly. It happens in ways that are memorable, and it happens in ways that showcase the driver talent, which is, of course, the main purpose of these machines. So I can only say, I think the Dallara 326 has proven itself already. We don't need to prove anything else anymore. We just need to go out and enjoy it. And I think that's what we all want to see and hear. So bring it on, I say.
Absolutely. Right, the wet qualifying session has definitely thrown a few spanners into the works. We've already talked about Alex Powell being down in 13th, René Lammers all the way back in P7, and Agozzi is in P3. There's a rookie between them, but it's definitely not the rookie that many people would have put on the front row of the grid. For Double R, it's Bart Harrison, the former European karting title winner at Miami. Now, that is a massive move forward from him, considering that for the most part of this season he's been battling it out for 17th, 18th, 19th. But rain is the real leveler, it's the real equaler. Talent is what really comes through. So that's a big moment for Bart Harrison's Winter Championship campaign. Whether he'll be able to sustain it at the front or not is yet to be seen, but it showcases real ability. If you can hack it in these cars as a rookie in the wet on a circuit like Aragon, you are definitely one to be considered.
It was very exciting to watch this morning because neither driver nor team would have been the great favorites in any case. And for them to perform so well, as you said, Jake, it just shows that there is talent, both on and off the track. And of course, yes, one might argue that wet weather driving is not the same as dry weather racing, duh. But he's starting from a very good position. And if he can make it count, I'm not saying that maybe he can fight for the win, although we would have to see it. But there can still be a good result, and good results are those things that you want to keep piling up. Maybe one of them doesn't make it, but one good result helps you take the next race with a better mindset, which in turn gets you a better result, which in turn gets you a better mindset, which in turn gets you another better result. And that's how you end up getting near the guys to the top, or beating them even. So I say let's bring it on once again, see what Bart Harrison can do on this race, starting from the first row of the grid. Again, very exciting, especially from a rookie. And as you said, not any of the rookies that we were all expecting.
Yeah, he's a real talent to watch out for the future, and it's worth bearing in mind that Bart Harrison actually represented his country in the FIA Karting Academy Trophy several years ago, and that's the category that gave the world Charles Leclerc. So he absolutely has that same level of exciting potential. I would love to see if this is the first race we really get to see what he's capable of. Also great to see that we've got two Argentines up in the top five, Gino Trappa and Santino Panetta, who we saw a lot of potential from at Jarama, but we didn't really get the results that either man deserved. This time out, we got a great chance for them. They gave us so much action in Jarama, Alex, and it would be wonderful if they could turn that excitement into some core results.
They've been so quick, so gutsy, so bold. One of those drivers, or two of those drivers, that give you excitement and give you fun in the races. And when you see those good moves and those, let's say, aggressive overtakes amount to nothing, it makes you feel that it's perhaps a bit unfair. So I would really look forward to them fighting near the top again, seeing if they can replicate those things that we saw from them on the last 2 weekends, and see if they can turn them into good results. Why not, considering the speed that we've seen from them? And more than anything, I would say, considering that they seem to be driving in a fearless way, which I'll confess to you, Jake, that's probably the style I like the most. I like a driver who's bold and who doesn't take no for an answer when it's about fighting on track.
Absolutely. In these categories, when you're a feeder series driver, you've got to make an impression and you've got to leave a lasting memory in the minds of those who are assessing you. And those kind of characters are actually, they can be a hindrance, but they can also be a help to ascend you further up the line. Now we've also got Chuyan Bu. He did a fantastic job for Double R in qualifying as well. He's right up there in P6. Great performance from the Chinese talent. And also mixing in the top 10, we've got Lammers, of course, in P7. But we've got Patrick Hosenroder, who did a fantastic job last week in Formula 3 in his home Grand Prix in Australia. So the confidence that will have given him cannot be underestimated. He is really riding on a strong performance coming back to Euro Cup 3 in the Spanish Winter Championship. Sometimes those little nudges, those little opportunities just give you that little bit of a boost, that little bit of an edge to push you slightly further forward when you return back to your normal campaign.
I once talked to some of the former Spanish karting champions of old, who are now, of course, racing in other categories, and they told me that this is something that they often see, especially in karting, but it happens, of course, in single-seaters. When you see a driver stepping up for just a one-off event, when they come back to their usual category, there's something changed in them. They manage to learn and make the most out of that experience and come back with something else that allows them and helps them to do better. I think with Patrick Heusenreuter, that's certainly the case. He's been in FIA F3. That is a tough as nails kind of series with a lot of talent, with many drivers in very little time, with not a lot of track time, so you need to get your ducks on a row very quickly. He adapted as best as he could, and he's back here with a lot of experience. And do not forget, considering that he was last week in Australia and he did the 2 race weekends of the Spanish Winter Championship, this is the 4th race weekend on a row that he's competing at. So what a month of February and March for Patrick Heusenreuter, who hasn't had a moment to stop. Wow.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I was actually lucky enough to be in Australia last week, not quite at the Grand Prix circuit, sadly. I was on WGP1 Jet Ski World Series duty last week in the Gold Coast, but the talk of the town was these young Aussies getting their opportunity, and Channel 10 covered it very well in their build-up. It was wonderful to see people like Patrick really taking opportunities by the scruff of the neck and really going for it. I actually thought he acquitted himself very well, considering he's still very new to the craft up at this level. He's obviously very experienced at Euro Cup 3 level, but to dip your toe into F3 is never easy. But it showcases that the car that we're building is one that really can assist the driver in the development up to the ladder. And if you look at the way that Formula 3 to Formula 2, now even to the Formula 1, the new regulations are evolving, it's clear you're going to need to be the kind of racing driver who can be gutsy, who can be determined, who will have that tenacity to take the risk. And so this new Dallara 326 car really isn't just helping these drivers move up the ladder, it's actually giving them the keys and the tools and the ingredients that will actually help them on the Grand Prix grid later.
100%, Jake. It is the kind of old-style racing car that teaches you a lot of things. It is also a car, crucially, that you can drive in iRacing through the Super Formula Light, let's say, agreement with the let's say simulator. I want to say video game. I don't want to call it a video game because it's really a simulator. It's a great tool for drivers to learn, and it's one of the most popular cars in iRacing, which means that when you're not here driving, you can be in the comfort of your home. As you keep learning the car, you keep learning these tracks, you keep learning what makes it tick. And by the way, if you'll allow me to get out of the topic for a moment, I have to say, Jake, I was very jealous to see your expedition through the streets of Surfers Paradise. Oh man, that must have been so cool.
It was very, very cool. I have to say, though, you've reminded me about the fact that this car is now on iRacing, so I know what content I'm going to be making in the build-up to the kick-off to the season in May. I need to get on that simulator again and turn some laps. We've just had the 3 minutes board. It's going to get very exciting off the start. We've got the likes of the likes of Harrison, Trapper, Panetta, Chu, Heusenreuter, Boston-Jevett, Steven Haydens wanting to get themselves in the mix as well. And we're going to be seeing some fight backs. Alpha Gali P11, Bradell 12, Powell 13. There's a lot of drivers out of position, so we could see quite a lot of racecraft in the early couple of laps. And what we saw from E4 is that there's going to be a lot of shuffles of the deck. Starting grid on screen now, Alex. We've got Chiara Manassari and Bart Harrison front row of the grid. Great opportunity for the Brit. Igotzi, he needs to get ahead of those two men if he wants to get this title fight to continue. Trapper, Panetta and Chu, top 6 positions for them as well. From the third row of the grid, 4th row, Lammers and Heusenreuter looking very strong indeed. And bringing out the top 10, Boston-Jevett, Steven Haydens. As the grid goes through again, Alex, there's so many drivers that will spot here in this starting grid out of position. We know that this is a circuit they can overtake. We know this is the car they can overtake with. We could see a completely different result to what the starting grid has already given us.
100% that, especially considering that, as we said before, the wind is still an element. The crosswinds, especially on the back straight, are going to put a challenge to the drivers. And there's, as you said, drivers out of their usual positions. I don't want to say proper out of positions because they clearly earned them this morning, but at least out of the usual positions they have been starting from. That said, I still think that Keanu Al-Azari has the best place. He's in the best position to have that newest race win that could potentially give him that championship that he's been aiming for. He's been quick, he's been efficient, he's been confident, and I think most crucially, Jake, he has his whole family this weekend with him here, which, especially given the state of the world in recent times, we will give him a little bit of an extra peace of mind that I'm sure will help him perform even better than in Madrid.
Very good point, Alex. We'll let you crack on down in pit lane. We'll focus on the formation lap. See you in a bit, buddy. So, for Keanu Al-Azari in pole position, Alex Garcia making a very solid point. The man from the United Arab Emirates obviously in a tough position. His whole family travelling here to watch their boy go for the title. It's very, very difficult at the moment for anybody based out in the Middle East to either get in or out of the country. So they're obviously in a very difficult situation. We want to send all our very best wishes to everybody living in those regions, in the United Arab Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Qatar, in Bahrain. All of our friends and all of our colleagues who are out there in the Middle East, we send all our very best wishes, and we hope you can stay safe and sound as much as possible. We send our best wishes and our love to you all. Keanu Al-Azari then, that is actually now already out of date because the pole position Al-Azari set this morning, another 2 points on the board to put him on 102. 19 drivers having scored points thus far. The leader of the drivers not to have scored points is actually Bart Harrison, starting on second on the grid, so he could suddenly shoot up from 0 points to 18 points very quickly if the race finishes as it is currently standing. So there's a lot of big opportunities for the contenders, but we should see a really exciting battle awaiting us. For the man in pole position, Keanu Al-Azari has got a 30-minute plus 1 lap dash before he can become the champion. If it stays like this, then the young man from the United Arab Emirates is going to be champion before we even get to the sprint race. It'll be a fabulous opportunity for him. He and the whole high-tech team know what to expect. The wind has dropped in speed just a little bit since the E4 race earlier on, but only by about 2 or 3 kilometers per hour. It's not going to be easy at all to predict how this is going to go. 8 degrees Celsius air temperature, 51% humidity, so it has dropped a little bit compared to earlier in the day. And certainly it's already dropping in terms of the mass fallout that we've got coming from qualifying that was in the wet conditions. So the last couple of drivers in position: Al-Azari, Harrison, Igozzi, Trapper, Panetta, Chu, Lammers, Hosenroder, Boston Jev, Steven Aidens, El Fagali, Pradell, Powell, Vizarano, then Stroven, Feldman, Eichmans, Berard, Giovanelli, Enzo Tarvanichkul all the way back in P20. From Stylianos Kolovos, Lorenzo Campos, Kasper Stuka, Renzo Barboy, Filippo Fortino, Bianca Bustamante, Benjamin Beckley, and Heitor Delagnol, 28th and last on the starting grid. Lots to come in these 30 minutes, plus the additional lap. Expect the unexpected as we get the green flag flying at the back of the grid. Let's go racing at Motorland Aragon. A beautiful start from Keanu Al-Azari, not a bad one from Harrison. He's going to beat Igozzi to the first corner without any problems at all. He even challenges Al-Azari in the first corner. Now Igozzi's going to have an opportunity with momentum going with him round the outside. He can then tuck in for the inside of the next apex, but he bails as Bart Harrison secures that second place through the first couple of apexes, and the high-tech boys are already challenging Igozzi to try and get into third position. They could be a real thorn in the side, as here comes Lammers, already charging his way forward. The Dutchman is already in a P5 past Pinetta. Now he's trying to take on Gino Trapper on the far side. Out through the right-hander. Everyone trying to keep it clean on the first lap. Starting procedure is under investigation, apparently, as Harrison is really working to keep Igozzi at bay. And this is bad news for Igozzi because he's going to get held up by the British driver, and that gives Keanu Al-Azari a clean bill of health up front. Now Igozzi is going to sort it out on the inside line, and the American gets through. Nice work from James Igozzi, moving up into second position. Now we can go after the man in front. There's already a second to gain because the man from Dubai has already extended a decent advantage. Now Harrison is trying his best to hold on in front of Trapper, Lammers and Benetta. Then it's Hosenroder, Chu, Bostanjev, Powell already up 3 places up into P10 as they go down the back straight for the first time. So Harrison's really going to have to work hard to keep Gino Trapper behind him. They're now parallel, side by side. Trapper's going to try and make this move around the outside before they even get to the braking zone. He's going to edge closer. He's going to try and force Harrison to lock up the brakes into the hairpin. But Harrison is clean as a whistle and holds on in 3rd place as Agotzi's already caught up to Keanu Alizari. This is going to be a great duel between the two men as they battle for supremacy here at the beautiful Motorland Aragon circuit. Igotzi's already trying to take on Alizari. They're going to be side by side, and Igotzi's going to make his bid. He'll get through on the inside line. Igotzi leads. Alizari lets him go. He's got a huge lead in the championship, but even if Igotzi brings that gap down by 7 points, it'll still be a comfortable position for Alizari to take into the sprint race later. And of course, just because Igotzi's got ahead, that does not mean that Alizari is not going to get a chance to bounce back. If anything, that's only going to fire him up. We've seen what Alizari's been like for the first 2 weekends. A fabulous battle coming towards us. That's Lammers already following through past Bart Harrison because both he and Gino Trapper have made their way to 3rd and 4th place. Gino Trapper is now the leading rookie. Good work from the Argentine. Then Lammers, Harrison, Hosenroder, Panetta, Chu, Powell, Bostanjev, Pradel, Strauman, El Fagali and Enzo Tanvanichkul, who's already made up 6 places. Then it's Eichmanns and Feldman, Campos, Rafael Perard, Vizaronu, Steven Adens, Fiorentino, Barboy, Giovinelli, Stuka and Delagnol. Some great duels everywhere you look in this fantastic field of drivers. But so far, Igotzi is doing the best he can to pull away from Alizari. But with this Dallara 326, every gain that Igotzi has made, Alizari will now try and replicate. Down the back straight. And of course, the slipstream will now kick in. There's going to be a couple of drivers going for the moves down into the hairpin. A couple of big battles behind Hosenroder. And that's Alex Powell already up into 8th position and now trying to go around the outside of Chuyan Pu. Both former Mercedes juniors. Oh, Alex Powell having to take a very wide berth there around the cone. That was Chu locking up his tyres big style. And he almost cannoned into his fellow former Mercedes junior. Goodness me. Very big mistake there from Chuyan Pu. And there was nothing Alex Powell could do. He had to take avoiding action around the cone on the runoff area. He'll be bitterly disappointed with that. That's going to drop him. So Lammers is now around the outside of Trapper, and he's through into 3rd position. Very gutsy from the Dutchman, but would we expect anything less from René Lammers? Good work from Lammers into 3rd, past Trapper, then Harrison, Panetta, and I do believe next up he's actually Powell. So Powell has managed to work his way back out of that little melee, and he's in 7th place ahead of Hosenroder, Tarvanichkul, Chu, Straven, Pradel, Eichmanns and Bostanjev. Look at the squabbles here around the outside. That was Straven and Chu having a nice little duel, wheel to wheel. Alex Powell trying to close up on Hosenroder. So still they battle away. Very tough racing at the moment as there's still more to come from these competitors. They're still giving us plenty to get excited about. Round on the far side, that is Straven, having got past Chu, and now he's got Pradel and Eichmanns in the MPs all over the back of him, Chuyan Pu. That wet weather qualifying really is coming back to bite him. He's not used to running in this position in this car yet. Yellow flags at turn 12. So it looks as though we've had an incident a couple of corners back from this. Not entirely sure where on the circuit and who it is that's involved. Safety car is called. Safety car is called. It's Yannis Steven Adens in trouble. Yannis Steven Adens is in trouble, the Belgian. So very unfortunate indeed for Yannis Steven Adens, but he has dropped to the back end of the grid now. So I'm afraid it's his retirement that has brought out the safety car, and it's a full reset button. This is great work for Keanu Alizari. Apparently, Yannis Steven Adens is in the gravel bed at turn 12, cannot move, and that's why we've gone to safety car. So I'm sure we'll see the aftermath of that very shortly, but for Agotzi and Alizari, it's a reset button. We've seen this before from Keanu Alizari, haven't we? When he's been in that position and chasing another car. Oh, that's quite a lot of damage, actually. Not only is he in the gravel trap, he's in the wall, and that's quite a bit of damage to Yannis Stevenadens' car. So I'm not entirely sure how the GRS has ended up in that position. But you can certainly see the wheel marks to get him to that point. Even the gravel bed couldn't stop him from hitting the wall, but he is okay, we're told. Race control has informed us that despite what looks like a fairly severe impact into the barriers, he is okay and he's already out of the car. Or climbing out of the car, I should say. There he goes. So Yannis Stevenadens, sadly, out of the first race of the weekend here at Aragon. And his front wing is just off to the right of the picture there as well. So it's clear that he's had impact with somebody. Whether the wing came off as a result of the impact or as a result of going into the wall, we're about to find out. There's the melee. Oh, goodness me. Yannis Stevenadens tagging in with another competitor and sliding off. Dear oh dear. So a very scary looking moment as a couple of drivers had to take avoiding action. But I think it was actually Rafael Parrard who ended up getting caught in that. So problems there as into the pits comes Bianca Bustamante. She's already had all sorts of mechanical problems this season. She certainly didn't need any more. But whatever it is, she's come into the pits. And so too has Filippo Fiorentino, actually, the Brazilian. So Filippo Fiorentino coming into the pits as well. So that's going to reduce the field potentially down to just 26. We've just seen Bianca Bustamante rejoin the field in her Polo. The other Polo is leading. James Zagotzi in front of Chiano Alazzari and René Lammers. Safety car cam. It's now my favourite camera in this championship. I've been fortunate enough to be a passenger in a safety car many times before in various different disciplines of the sport. It is quite an amazing experience, and I often kind of stand quite near a safety car during a race weekend just in case the driver is friendly enough to say, do you want to come out for a run? Of course, the answer is always yes, no matter what. So the safety team already extricating Yannis Stevenadens from his position at turn 12. It's almost clear, but of course because of the position of the safety car, they can't just give them the last minute safety car in this, that. They actually have to give them time to process the information, and obviously the safety team have to reset their position as well. So that has to be done. So we'll go around for a second lap under safety car, but I believe it's going to be only the second lap that we need to get us back to green conditions. Certainly it gives us time to go through the running order. James Zagotzi ahead of Chiano Alazzari, champion-elect. René Lammers ahead of Gino Trappa, Bart Harrison and Santino Panetta. Then Alex Powell in 7th. 8th is Patrick Hosenroder from Enzo Tarvanichkel and Thomas Strauven. Then we've got Julian Pu 11th in front of Gianmarco Bredel. And then it is Ian Eichmans from Elsie Feldman, Stefan Bostenjev, Lorenzo Campos, Rafael Perard and Chris Alfagali all the way back in 18th. So he's not had an easy time of it. Kasper Stuka, who's really struggling this winter season. Luca Vizzarono, Heiter Delagnol, who's already made up places off the start. Renzo Barboy, and then Gianno Giovanelli from Stylianos Kolovos, Benjamin Beckley, and at the back of the field now, after her pit stop, is Bianca Bustamante with the problems that she faced. So she's actually had quite a few technical difficulties at the start of the season, hasn't really yet been able to show us really what she can do. I've still got a lot of belief in Bianca Bustamante. I remember seeing her all the way back in the Miami Series Asia at Sepang in the junior X30 category, and she was running rings around the boys. So very impressive talent. If you can do that at X30 level, then you can do it anywhere. Safety car in this lap. So James Zagotzi and Chiano Alazzari battling for supremacy again, not just for a race win, but also for the title. So if Zagotzi manages to finish off this race with a win, he will reduce the gap in the title fight from 35 points to 28 points, and that keeps the title fight alive. So as our safety car driver brings the cars and the field to the back straight. When we get onto the back straight, the lights will go out on the safety car. That is a fabulous looking Polo GTI. Love those cars. They are the world's fastest road-going go-karts. Great to have the team here at Motorland Aragon, getting us into another great position. Here we go then. Weave those tyres, weave those brakes, warm them up, get them ready for the restart as the safety car Plunges down the back straight, ready to give these drivers the free rein and birth of the race circuit again. But who's going to get the better of the other, James Igozzi or Chiano Alazzari? If Igozzi wins this race against Chiano Alazzari, he will keep the title fight going to the sprint race. If Chiano Alazzari gets ahead of James Igozzi and wins this race, he will win the title. So for Igozzi, it's a chance to keep the title fight alive. For Alazzari, it's a chance to seal the title before we even get to the afternoon's running. So out of the turn, Igozzi is trying to keep Chiano Alazzari guessing as to when he's going to go on the throttle. He really is leaving this late. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. He's going to try. Now he's going to go for it, surely. No, he's going to leave it so late that he's going to keep everybody guessing until the final apex. He's still leaving it. Now he's gone for it. Goodness me, that was James Igozzi being crafty. And so as the whole field cannons down the straight, it's green, 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 as Chiano Alazzari is now in trouble from Renan Lammers. Lammers is going to attack into the first turn, as now Panetta is going to dive in on the inside of Harrison. He can't quite make that one stick. He's left himself vulnerable to Alex Powell. Here comes the Jamaican sensation, nearly up into P6. So Chiano Alazzari definitely been left guessing there by James Igozzi, but Alazzari is already pushing him on this restart, and side by side that's Powell and Panetta, and Powell right round the outside finishes the job. Great work from Alex Powell. He gets into P6 and turns it into a move for P5, parallel with Harrison. He so nearly got that job done into P5. Harrison eventually manages to hang on to it, but that just shows you how aggressive Alex Powell can be and how smart he can be, turning a great move through an apex into an overtaking move for the next one. So Alazzari still challenging Igozzi, Lammers, Trapper, Harrison and Powell. Then it's Hosenroder, Panetta, Tarnvanijkul, Stralvan, Chu, Bredel and Eichmans. Back to the drone. And you can see how much Alazzari is pressuring James Igozzi. He really wants to make him sweat for this, as Tarnvanijkul is going wheel to wheel there with Thomas Stralvan, the Belgian. Stralvan was left on the curb, down the back straight. Igozzi trying to shake off Alazzari. He's got to be careful he doesn't weave too much. But Alazzari is going to attack here. Surely Igozzi is going to be a sitting target. Alazzari has got to try and keep James Igozzi guessing. He's going to be parallel. He's going to beat him to the braking zone, is he? Tries to hold it round the outside, but Alazzari knows that Igozzi's going to force him to the curb, so he's really smart, he's tactical. He bails out of the corner, lets Igozzi have it. He can go at him again into turn one, and Igozzi knows it. Here they go. Igozzi's going to be right up against the pit wall nearly. Alazzari goes back to the racing line. Igozzi tries to cut across him. These two former teammates in karting, don't forget, they were both part of the Tony Kart Factory team. Now they are implacable rivals. Friendly, amiable, but when it comes to racing, they will leave no stone unturned. The high-tech trying to pitch round the outside of the Palou. Igozzi in the middle of the road. You can't go left, you can't go right. Yet again, another fantastic battle brewing in E3. Igozzi still trying to hold his nerve in front of Chiano Alazzari. Lammers is closing up on them. Every time these two duel, Lammers gets a chance to close up. He could steal the win from both of them. Down the drop. Igozzi and Alazzari using all of the curb and a little bit more. So Trapper still running in front of Powell and Hosenroder. Then Harrison down to P7. Still looking good for his first points of the season though. He's chasing down the Australian in the Campos. Then Panetta, Stralvan and Tarnvanijkul has the last point. Very good work so far from the tie, going up from 20th to P10. But there's still a fair long way to go in this one, just under 15 minutes left of the race. So we're at just about half distance mark. Here we go again, Igozzi down the back straight. He is a sitting duck as Alazzari hunts him down. But again, Igozzi cannot afford to move too many times in his defence of Alazzari. Looks as though he's been able to use the push to pass to good effect on this run though. Alazzari thinks about it, bails out. Sensible. Tarnvanijkul meanwhile watches as Stralvan goes to battle with Panetta. And Tarnvanijkul's in danger of losing out here to Eichmans and Bredel. Back onto the home straight again. And Alazzari has another crack at James Igozzi. Up to turn one. He's not going to bail onto the inside line just now. It's a little bit too gutsy as Harrison holds on here from Hosenroder. Back into P6 he goes. Trapper still in front of Powell, but for how much longer? Alex Powell and Patrick Hosenroder, the Campos Racing boys, are attacking everyone in their vicinity. Round the far side of Trapper goes Powell. Round the far side of Harrison goes Hosenroder. And both the American and the Australian are absolutely singing from the same hymn sheet here. They're almost making identical moves to their opposition. So Powell goes for Trapper. Hosenroder goes for Harrison, and then Stralman. Tarva Nitschkel now 9th in front of Panetta. From Eichmans, Pradell, Elfagali and Chu. Then Perard, Campos, Feldman, Bostanjev, Barboy and Delagnol. Already a good opening couple of laps of this restart from Bustamante. She's already got ahead of Beckley, Kolovos and Giovanelli. 13 minutes left, plus 1 lap. Good work thus far. Alizari again putting pressure on Agozzi. They've calmed their act a bit, and that's allowed Lammers the chance to get away. Now the Campos boys are together, because that is Stralvan on Hosenroder. Hosenroder's lost ground to Harrison, and now he's got to defend from his Belgian teammate. Here we go again. Agozzi almost flirting with a white line down the back straight. He's going to make Alizari go all the way round the outside. Can he even beat him to the braking zone? He's certainly going to put a wheel in front, but Agozzi's going to have the inside line. Alizari's almost able to commit to the outside line, but he can't quite get there. Igozzi battles him back. And now they go up over the crest. Alizari will try again. A lot of dive bombers in the midfield noticed by the fans, but is there going to be one needed from Alizari here? On Igozzi! He absolutely hoodwinks him! Pure PK and Mansell magic from Keanu Alizari. He pulls off the 87 Silverstone move and takes the lead away from Igozzi. Oh, wonderful bit of racecraft again from Alizari. He sells Igozzi the dummy, and he totally buys it. Now he's going to try round the outside to retaliate, but Keanu Alizari pulls off a brilliant blinder of a move. And now he's the one who's on the defence. A 1:49.7 on the last lap. No wonder he was able to get his run on Igozzi. But James Igozzi is going to come back at him. Tense times on the pit wall for surely both Palou and High Tech. Down the drop comes the Palou of James Igozzi. René Lammers in the MP is not far away from them. The more these two duel, the better it can be for everyone else. Apparently there is an investigation for the use of push-to-pass during the first lap and safety car for Lorenzo Campos. That's not good news for the Angolan. But certainly between Igozzi and Alizari, it is an absolute game-changing race battle again. Through the chicane and down the back straight. Now watch Igozzi do to Alizari what Alizari did to Igozzi. It's going to be a very similar race battle between these two now as they completely swap roles. Powell is now ahead of Trapper. He's trying to close up on this 3. Still 11 minutes left of racing. Alizari determined to make sure that Igozzi doesn't get his run. Igozzi has to take the curb. And James Igozzi won't be terribly happy with that, but there's nothing at all that Keanu Alizari did wrong. Up the hill. Yellow flag at turn 16. Alizari leading. Igozzi second. He's going to try and fight his way through before the safety car arrives on the scene. And he's done it. Igozzi claims the lead back from Alizari. Fantastic run down the pit straight as James Igozzi fights back. Safety car. Safety car. Lammers' chance on Alizari's going to have to wait. Oh, this race has still got so many levels left in it. And Alizari is lucky there because Lammers was approaching a move. Well, it shows you, doesn't it? Keanu Alizari has some real tiger moves, but so does James Igozzi. They are each other's equal. And when they return to battle again, it's going to be glorious. And it's Bart Harrison! No! Oh, he was having such a solid race. Really battling in the top 10. And now Bart Harrison is in the barrier with a broken rear axle. That's so unfortunate for the British driver who has been having a very solid opening race. He's not going to get another chance because, of course, in the reverse grid race, he'll be down in 11th on the grid. But what an opportunity that was for Bart Harrison. If you're going to fight, you're going to need to fight fire with fire. And unfortunately, Bart Harrison learns the hard way. It doesn't always go your way. What a shame for the Englishman. So, as Bart Harrison walks away from his car and the safety team go to clear the wreckage, I think this is only going to be a 2-lap safety car because it's right at the end of the lap and the safety team are already working their way through. Now the big question there is going to be, was that Harrison's mistake or did someone help him to the scene? Because if someone helped him to the scene, that could well be an investigation followed by a penalty. So Harrison has got himself to a position of safety at the marshal's post. Filippo Fiorentino has retired from the race. He actually did that under safety car, so problems already for him. Trying to figure out if there's anybody else who's dropped a long way down the field. Rafael Parard dropped a long way back to 24th. So I wonder if there might have been an incident there with, well, Harrison. Well, no, I don't think so, because Parard was a long way back, even from Harrison. So it's very difficult to know there exactly what's going to be the reason for that incident for Bart Harrison. We're not entirely sure what it was. Now, of course, there may not be a replay for that particular incident because Harrison was fighting for about 7th or 8th position, and when Agozzi and Al-Azhari were battling for position, the camera was trained on them at that corner. We're not like Formula One. We don't have 14,000 cameras looking around the circuit at all times, so we don't have multiple angles of each corner like they do. We don't have the same budget, so there's a chance we may not know what happened to Bart Harrison unless the drone was able to pick it up. But again, if they're not looking at the incident, then we don't have a camera on it. But certainly the only thing we do know for sure is that Bart Harrison is out of the race, and that's a real shame for the British driver. Agozzi, Al-Azhari, Lammers, and now Powell all have a great chance in this one. Safety car in this lap? I thought so. The safety team here are very, very quick. And of course, Harrison was at turn 16 when he had that accident, so he's already right by a marshal post, so the car can fit quite easily in the gap there. So it's a quick clean-up job, and we're going to get about 5 minutes plus 1 lap when this race restarts. But for James Agozzi, from Chiara Al-Azhari and René Lammers, ahead of Powell, Trapper, Straven, Hosenroder, Tan van Inchgil, Panetta and Eichmans, it's the only thing we know for sure is that this is going to be a very unpredictable restart. We're going to see a replay. Now, is it of Harrison? We're going to see in the background. Yes! Well done, whoever it was that caught that. Stunning camera work. Because that's as they're approaching the main straight. So they've managed to time it. Look at that camera work. Fair play. To catch the incident as it happens and then come back on point to grab the leaders again. Give that man a medal. Well done, sir. So the lights out on the safety car, and it's time to see if Agozzi versus Al-Azhari take 3 is going to be just as good as the first 2 attempt. And watch for Lammers and Powell on this restart because they are going to be very quick indeed. So now we're going to see if the battle is going to join again. Agozzi definitely going to keep Al-Azhari guessing here on this one. And when is he going to go for it? He's got to keep him guessing. He's got 3 or 4 options here as to when he can just floor the throttle. Will it be now? He's going to keep him guessing again. So Agozzi waits, gives Al-Azhari time to think about it. Will he go on the throttle now? No, he's going to wait again. It clearly works. Now he's going to have a think about it. But again, he backs them up. Concertinas. Waits. Up the crest. Still weaving. Now he's gone for it. Cheeky from James Agozzi. And again, it works beautifully as for the second time we go back to green here at Aragon. And it's actually giving Al-Azhari a little bit of sweat because Lammers wasn't far away from him, nor was Alex Powell. So incredibly, just like that, the top 4 drivers in this race are the 4 title contenders. But Gino Trapper fancies a move. Sweet! Absolutely beautiful on Alex Powell. Gino Trapper commits. This is what we were saying about Gino Trapper and Santino Panetta. It's nice to see these guys actually take a risk or two as Stroven now kicks out onto the curbs in a brilliant brawl with his 2 teammates, Powell and Hosenroder. Hosenroder's trying to come right round the outside, squeezed onto the curb again. Careful you don't hit each other, boys. You're going to have a very embarrassing chat in the garage later if that's the case. So as they come off the turn once again, Egozzi and Alazari. Lammers. Trapper now ahead of Powell, Straven and Hosenroder. And Tarvanichkul up to 8th. So the Red Bull Junior from Thailand, who is based nowadays in Marbella in Spain, definitely making light work of things as he picks off these drivers one by one like they're raisins. Absolutely charging his way. But he has got Panetta and Eichmanns for trouble. So he's got to keep one eye over his shoulder. And here we go again, down that very long back straight. This is where we're going to see some more duels. Egozzi really trying to shake Alazari off. Hanging him out down the straight there as he tries to get rid of him like a carrier bag hanging off a tyre of your bicycle. He's just trying to kick him away. And Tarvanichkul really pushing Hosenroder to the ragged edge as up the inside of both of them comes Panetta. Panetta can't finish it on Hosenroder and he's going to drift out wide. Tarvanichkul will have the momentum on the far side. And watch out because here comes Pradell and Eichmanns. They want to move their way forward as well. Alazari building up to the challenge for the lead, but Tarvanichkul's going to have the inside line. Surely he can get this finish. No, Hosenroder's going to carry it round the outside. Great work from the Australian. Patrick Hosenroder absolutely on his A game. Safety car procedure investigation, no further action to be taken. So it carries on. 2.5 minutes on the clock. Lammers, Trapper and Powell. Then Straven, Hosenroder, Tarvanichkul up the inside of him. Again, the Australian resists. He is so good in defence, and Tarvanichkul really has to work to keep Panetta from slipping up the inside line into the next chicane. He drifts out wide, somehow catches the slide, and there's nothing that Panetta can do to put his nose on the inside. Terrific racecraft. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. So Egozzi and Alazari still dueling for the race and the title. Lammers is kind of in no man's land, trying to keep up with them. Then it's Trapper, Powell, Straven, Hosenroder and Tarvanichkul, who is still being hustled here by Panetta and Eichmanns. The final points paying positions could go anybody's way. 1.5 minutes left. Back straight. And Alazari's opening up the taps on Egozzi. This is where he can really find the punch. Egozzi trying to shake him off. Down to the foot of the straight, but he won't want to go gung-ho and dive bomb. He want to set him up next time. He is going to commit to the inside. Alazari goes long. Egozzi squeezes him back on the exit. No, you don't, mate. I'm not going to give you an easy overtake. Egozzi fights back. And now cannons to the inside line near the pit wall to shake him off. 2 laps to go. And Egozzi really is trying to keep Alazari at best here. Alazari gets ahead, he wins the title. Egozzi stays ahead, the title fight goes on to the sprint race. Don't you just love the Dallara 326? It is my favourite single-seater junior ladder racing car in the world right now. Absolutely fantastic. Everywhere you look, there's battle after battle, war after brawl, and here comes Alazari again on Egozzi. And the more these two duel, the closer Lammers gets to them. René Lammers can just dance his way to the victory if these two clatter into each other. But they are going to be absolutely on the lock stop. Look how quickly Lammers is catching them. He is doing all the hard work here. Keanu Alazari bidding to get ahead of James Egozzi. If he does, he wins the title. But if Egozzi stays in front, then we've still got 2 races left to fight for in the title fight. 3, 2, 1. Time is down to 0, so it's a race back to the finish line and then 1 more lap. But it's no longer a 2-man fight for the win. It's a 3-man fight. And Alex Powell is putting pressure on Gino Trapper again in the high-tech. It's Campos 5, 6, 7, 8 at the moment. Powell, Straven, Tarvanichkul and Hosenroder. But here comes the battle. It's 3 of them now fighting for the win. Egozzi trying desperately to kick Alazari out of his tow. But Lammers is in the tow as well. Here comes Alazari again. Egozzi to the middle of the road, so Alazari has to reset and correct for a better run off the hairpin to have a go at him again into turn 1. Trapper really struggling to keep back Powell and Straven. Off the final turn, Alazari is going to be punching, but so is Lammers. Final lap, here we go, the last lap of the first race of the weekend. Is there going to be a move from Alazari? Not yet. There is going to be a move from Powell, but it's one of resistance as Trapper holds his inside line. Lammers is really hungry for the victory behind the leaders. Igotzi and Alazari are battling away, but Lammers could steal it from both of them down the back straight. He is very calculated, is the Dutchman. This is not over yet, folks. It could go any one of the three. Igotzi of the United States for Palou, Keanu Alazari of the United Arab Emirates for High Tech, and René Lammers of the Netherlands for MP Motorsport. Any one of these three could win this. Here we go again to the chicane. And Igotzi just able to keep the grip favourable. Runs out a little wide. Lammers runs even further wide. That might be his shot at the victory gone. He may just have to settle for being best rookie, but he doesn't want that. Up to the far side again, and Igotzi is desperately trying to get rid of Alazari, but he's still right there on the verge of victory. He knows he could take it. He's keeping the American honest every single lap at the moment. USA versus UAE versus the Netherlands, and they come down to the back straight for the last time. Will the red Palou hold off the pink High Tech with the with the orange and blue MP in tow? It's the run to the finish line, but Igotzi is doing everything he can to keep Alazari back. He knows that this is Alazari's one shot. He's going to go for it. He knows that Alazari will go for every move he can. They slide. They keep the back end out big style. Is Alazari going to lose second to Lammers before the line? Igotzi's done everything he needed to. The title fight will carry on. James Igotzi wins an absolute classic at Aragon. What a race. What a battle. And James Igotzi keeps the championship alive. What a duel that was, from start to finish. And there's camaraderie again between the two. James Igotzi and Keanu Alazari, friends off track, warriors on track. And that will have done nothing to change that. Fantastic. Give those boys a lollipop. The championship carries on. James Igotzi reduces the gap from 35 points to 28 points. And who had the fastest lap of the race? Actually, the gap comes down to 29 points, not 28, because Keanu Alazari got the fastest lap and the bonus point that goes with it. So the lead is down from 35 to 29. But there is only 34 points left in this championship fight. It's still very, very hard work ahead for James Igotzi to win this title, but Alazari makes him work for it. He'll be happy with second, frustrated in the moment, but when he takes stock of the situation and realizes I got the fastest lap and second place, so I only lost 6 points to him. I'm 29 ahead and there's 34 left on the table. That'll do. I'm happy with that. He's a very smart boy, is Keanu Alazari. He'll see the big picture. Yes, he could have won the title just then, but he's still so close to getting the job done anyway. Excellent stuff, though, from Igotzi, Alazari and Lammers. Powell comes through to fourth in the end, but take a bow to the man in P5. Enzo Tarnvinichgul, the Red Bull Junior from Thailand, comes through to P5, having started P20. What a drive from Enzo Tarnvinichgul. Absolutely stellar from the former junior karting world champion. Excellent work. There is the 99 René Lammers. He's the leading rookie, finishes third and puts more points on the board and pretty much will be putting the rookie title fight beyond all doubt this weekend. But that will be a frustrating so near yet so far for René Lammers. He almost got them both. And it just shows you that this title fight will just keep getting better. There's still so much more to do in the remaining two races. We could crown a couple of champions this afternoon in E4 and E3, but one thing is for sure, the fight will go on until there's nothing left. Nobody will be handed anything here today. You've got to go and fight for it if you want to win it. Absolutely stunning motorsport, and James Igotzi, that will probably be the most satisfying win of them all this year. When the chips were down, when the pressure was on him to let it slip and give the title away, no chance. He fought, and he fought valiantly and with incredible skill. James Igotzi, has done it. And look at that, a handshake and an embrace between the two. As I keep mentioning, these two are very solid friends when they're not on track. They've known each other so many years, they've grown up together. They may be in different teams, but karting friendships run forever. And James Zigotzi and Chiara Malazzari, what a duel between two fantastic young men. There are very few drivers in this field who are as likeable and who are as wonderful to know as James Zigotzi and Chiara Malazzari, two fabulous, fabulous young men. There's Chiara Malazzari in conversation with Mr. High-Tech, Oliver Oakes. And Oliver will just be saying to him, don't worry, did a good job. You've still got 2 races left, and you're 29 points clear with 34 on the table. Don't worry about it. Chill out. Enjoy the weekend. Fabulous racing all the way. And we get 2 more of those, ladies and gentlemen. We get a sprint race this afternoon, and we get the finale tomorrow, where a champion may already have been crowned, but with these Dallara 326 race cars, that will not make it dull at all. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Let's go down to the pit lane, because we've got to speak to our man of the moment. Alex Garcia is going to be in conversation with James Zigotzi very shortly. But what an amazing story this is. We could have had the title very easily decided there. Chiara Malazzari was leading for a couple of moments, but the man to take the title fight down to the wire is James Zigotzi.
James Zigotzi, we could have had a champion now, but you said, nah, I'm not taking that for an answer. How was that race?
It was a fun race. The wind makes it so difficult to keep the position, so me and Keanu had a really good battle, a lot of exchanging, just because there's no way to get away in this wind. So yeah, I'm honestly happy that Keanu just doesn't win today. I hope we can make it go on till Sunday, and I'm having a good time. I'm sure he is too.
Fun stuff though. This is a great car. The team is performing so well this year. You're doing great as well. This must keep you very motivated for the rest of the year in any case.
Yeah, we're finding a lot of success. Obviously, it's very early in the season, so I just want to play my cards how I receive them, but I'm very happy with how things are going. The season's looking good. What's
the key to drawing that title decision for tomorrow? Anything that we have to do, that you have to do, that anybody has to do later?
Keep scoring more points.
James, enjoy the win. Good luck for later.
Thank you very much, everybody.
What a race we've had today, Jake. That was absolutely incredible. We said it before. The 326 is a car designed for this type of racing, and we have it in any circuit that we go, and this is what we like to see, isn't it?
Yeah, the Dallara 326, it is such a game changer for the feeder series at this level. There's always been a bit of a worry, a bit of a concern that the wheel-to-wheel dramas, the natural organic flow of the racecraft can be stymied by dirty air, but this new car has proven that if you build it right, if you give it to drivers, if you understand how the car works, the real racing will be there, naturally there. These guys have so much talent. Zigotzi taking the win by 0.4 of a second, and that keeps the title fight alive and kicking at least to the sprint race this afternoon. But there are so many cool things to talk about here, Alex. We've got Enzo Tarmanichko fighting his way back into the top 5. Eichmanns, Bradell, Alfagali all fought their way back into the points as well. Amazing battles all the way, and we could even have had 3 different drivers winning that race, because not only was Alazzari on the A game for Zigotzi, but René Lammers was pushing them all the way. This is what we've been hoping for, and guess what? At the end of this weekend, we get to spend an entire year watching the drivers battle away.
Exactly, and I have to wonder, Jake, what could have been if we didn't have that safety car in the middle of the race, because René Lammers was so close to James Zigotzi and Chiara Malazzari, and if he had a few more laps to put pressure on them, who knows, maybe it would have happened for him, and maybe it would have still happened for James Zigotzi, but with another guy in the middle with his rival. So, as he said, he has to keep scoring more points. Let's see what the sprint race later on brings. But no, absolutely, we had so many talking points for this race. Enzo Tarmanichko, that was a classic Enzo Tarmanichko racing, coming from so far behind and doing a number on the rest of the rivals, overtaking left and right. That was insane to watch. I so wish that he was more often qualifying higher up, because when he qualifies well, he's always a factor in the race. when he doesn't, he is usually still a factor. So imagine if he was starting from, let's say, 3-4 first rows of the grid.
It's a very good point. Qualifying is such a game changer in a race weekend. It's always very frustrating. You never know what you're going to make of these things until the big show. Now we've got to talk a little bit about the sprint race coming up, Alex, because James Igozzi taking the win over Chiara Al-Azari from back in 4th on the grid, don't forget, with Al-Azari on pole. That means that for the reverse grid later, Igozzi's going to be ahead of Al-Azari, and he's got a great chance to take that 29-point deficit to a 26 or 27 point. And let's not forget that in the last race of the year, there's 28 points available, 2 for the pole position, 1 for the fastest lap, and 25 for the win. So for Igozzi, if he can finish ahead of Al-Azari in the sprint race later, we've got a showdown. And that's what we all want to see.
I can almost imagine what the strategy is going to be. Just push and give everything he has and try to get as many positions as he can on those first couple of laps and see if he can make those positions before Chiara Al-Azari can recover and get close to him. If he does that, that's enough. He brings the title decided to the last day of the Spanish Winter Championship. That's as much as he can hope for today. And then at that point, you just wait and see what happens in qualifying, because you never know with motorsport. A good qualifying may give you something special. A bad qualifying may be a game changer as well. Before that, yes, sprint race this afternoon. Don't forget, it shouldn't rain based on what we're seeing, but it is still not impossible.
It's motorsport. Every time you think it's not going to rain, it probably will. Alex, gracias, mi amigo. We will come back to you ready for the E4 race later this afternoon. Thanks for everything.
See you later.
So our podium ceremony then for the E3 class of the Spanish Winter Championship, Euro Cup 3. I tell you what, this Dallara 326 is a bit of a masterpiece, isn't it? All of the guys at Dallara, at Tom's, at Instune 101, at Cosworth, they've been absolutely fantastic at putting this car together. It is not only giving us a great race car that the drivers will learn, but it's giving us a great piece of equipment that's clearly very adaptable, very astute. Very, very cool to see all the hard work that everybody's been working on. And considering how tough the battle is now for the title fight this weekend, we're going to see some real magic, I'm sure. The man who's going to stand on the podium for Palou to take the Constructors' Trophy is in position. Great to see that no matter what is thrown at the personnel at Palou, they'll go and claim their trophy. René Lammers, top of the rookie drivers, so he'll be on the rookie podium after this one, which sadly we don't have time to stick around for. Chiara Al-Azari, perfectly happy with second place. He's still in the box seat to win this title. But the man on top, James Igozzi, the man that Red Bull allowed to slip through their fingers. Boy, will they be ruining that after a drive like his just there. Vivek Kanthan gave us the Star-Spangled Banner in the E4 race. Now James Igozzi gives it to us again at the end of the Euro Cup 3 race. Fantastic work from the drivers from the USA here this weekend thus far. And for the Palou Motorsport team, it's business as usual. Fantastic work. It turns out that not only is Alex Palou one of the best racing drivers in the world, he's also one of the best T-boners in junior single-seaters as well. Third place for René Lammers. That could so easily have been a win if that safety car had not intervened earlier in the race. But he gets the job done in fine style. Chiara Al-Azari picks up a second place trophy. That's another one for the mantelpiece. But of course, the big one is the one he really wants, the title, which he could get done in the next 24 hours or so. But this man, James Zigotzi, will keep that title fight alive until there's no oxygen left in it. He will push to the ragged edge, and he will give us a show in the process. Boy, are we in for a treat for the sprint races later this afternoon in E4 and E3. 20 minutes only plus 1 lap each. But they're certainly going to give us some spectacular motorsport this afternoon as James Zigotzi triumphs in the first E3 Spanish Winter Championship race of the weekend here at Motorland Aragon. And with the sprint race still to come, the boys are going to give us plenty of exciting banter out on the course as the drivers now get to celebrate in style on the podium as they get busy with the fizzy here at Aragon. That's it for the first race of the weekend in the Spanish Winter Championship in E3. Both E4 and E3 will be back this afternoon for the sprint races. From myself, Jake Sanson, and on behalf of Alex Garcia and the whole of the crew at the Killite, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back this afternoon for even more.